right, everybody, we're here today out in Chicago, Illinois, with Mac Rogers. He's actually a managing partner of H&R Legacy, commercial real estate company, and I believe a wealth manager, if I'm correct. Mac, you want to tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm actually in Texas right now. I'm originally from Chicago, so we just got a snowstorm. I don't know if I brought it down here with me or not, but it's freezing cold down here, which is why I got a sweater on. But yeah, so even though I'm a partner of kind of a commercial real estate wealth management group now. I was able to be a part of the company and provide some funding from that company because I started in the movie industry about 9 years ago in the Chicagoland area, right? So I think my story is kind of similar to a lot of people. I started off, I actually graduated from Northern. I started off thinking I had that golden ticket, and getting a high paying job didn't happen. So kind of started hustling with my best friend at the time. We started a moving company where we would do it after work. We would do it on the side, kind of a side hustle with a truck that my father had, and then we kind of just built that thing out, right? So for us, the second year in business, we had already did about 478,000 in sales.
Mm.
So we did a lot of sales, a lot of revenue. We're absolutely killing it. And then the slow season come along, and we got no money. I'm like, man, so is it a hole? It's a hole in our pocket. And it took us a year. So we started looking for working capital, things of that nature, trying to, fill the voids, cover payroll, et cetera. And then it took us another 12 months to really figure out what we were doing. And, we really figured out that our pricing model was completely wrong, as well as we had completely misstructured our business, right? We were chasing after these residential customers. And once we were able to make that pivot into chasing more businesses to get us sustainable revenue and government contracting, that's when we were able to really turn that corner. This past June, we were finally able to exit the company, which is something good because most small businesses or just businesses in general, or moving companies specifically, we don't have that option, right? We get to the finish line and it's hard for us to exit because the companies are only worth their assets if you don't have no long-term contracts or you don't have self-storage or things of that nature. So hopefully today we'll talk about a couple of those different topics and we can add some value to these new companies, current companies who are in business and figure out how we were able to be successful and exit that company and get to where we are today.
Gotcha. So when you say, what part of Texas are you dominating in right now?
We're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas now.
Okay. And are you doing wealth management for commercial or more residential where it's like, hey, let's save up for your retirement?
We do everything commercial, man. Residential at this point in my life doesn't make sense. We go out to B2B as far as the assets that we acquire, right? We acquire underperforming assets and we improve them efficiently so that they can perform well, which enables us to bring value to our investors and to our company overall.
Okay. So would you recommend online banks for commercial?
We use an online bank for our company. So, well, every bank is online technically, right? So it just depends on what fits your model. That's a great question, right? Because in the movie industry, I started off with PNC Bank, which was a growing bank at the time in the Chicagoland area. But one of the things that I did that we talked about, before this call was that one of the things that made my company unique is that I ran my company remotely for about 8 years, right? So, but it forced me to put systems and processes in place, and I'm a system and process and number guy. So everything I had to be able to see my entire business online from where I was at, right? Day-to-day operation, that's cool, but the money's actually made behind the desk. And I think you can say the same thing. The money's made administratively. Once the guys go on the field, I've already built them up to look so good. All they got to do is deliver on the promise that our team has given them.
Gotcha. Okay. So, all right, cool. So, as y'all know, we're here to teach, the moving company owners on anything that we can teach them on. So one topic usually a week, but I know Mac from a long time and he has a lot of valuable information. So we're gonna make it juicy today.
Yeah.
So Mac, what were you looking to teach on today?
Today we're going to talk about a major nugget that nobody really wants to talk about. It's kind of a secret within the movie industry. So much information out there. about residential moving, right? You can Google it. Everybody talks about it, nobody talks about the B2B or the B2G side. And what I mean by B2B, it's the business to business side, which is something that we transition to, which is called a business pivot, and the B2G, which is the government side, which a lot of companies don't want to talk about, which we also transition to, right? So B2B is actually servicing another business with your product or service, right? So what we did initially, we started off like everyone else, hustling, started doing residential moving, had a lot of seasonality, April through September, a lot of money. November, October, November, December, January, February, not so much money, lost a lot of employees, and it's not sustainable because during that time, you lose a lot of good staff, you lose a lot of good tenure because it's people who want to stay there, but if you don't have the cash flow to be able to keep them, or you didn't make enough money in the summertime to float through the wintertime, then you have problems. On the commercial side, you don't tend to have those problems as much because they don't care about seasonality. Most of those people have loading docks, so you're not so much more outside in the weather. It's air-conditioned buildings, and it's actually so much easier to move these people because you don't tend to stack your furniture on top of each other, right? You're not stacking $1,000 desk on top of another $1,000 desk. You're just loading these things up. Most of these things just roll right into your truck, so it's not as much heavy lifting when it comes to the commercial side. Me and you talked about that before. The commercial is actually a lot easier than residential. And then on the commercial side, your transactions are larger where, at the minimum, your smallest move may be 5,000, right? But you look for these contracts where you have big corporations out there who always have employees getting promotions and moving to different departments, different floors, et cetera. And they need cubicles built, things move, office furniture delivered, and there's way more money within this specific space. And it's the same thing on the government side, right? So on the government side, you have the ability to get different certifications that allow your business to look better on paper and attractive to the government entities. So for our business, we had a lot of contracts. We had contracts with the state of Illinois, Chicago Public Schools, Veterans of America, Teach for America. You name it, we were on the contract either as a prime or a subprime. And that's how we were able to sustain as seasonality changed. And that was one of the biggest changes we made that I would like to see a lot more movers get into. And the question comes up, well, how do we get into it? So we did an internal process where we were able to find a lot of offices moving. And the way we did that was that we partnered with officemovingleads.co, right? So they really helped us get in front of a lot of commercial people who were moving before they were moving. So not only did we service them, but we kind of offered them more so consulting. Hey, we'll help you get everything set up to move, because moving a house is prepared by the owners, but moving an office is not prepared by the owners, right? HR usually take care of those things, or they have a move coordinator internally. So we were able to strategically find out who those individuals were and target them and start to build a relationship with those guys.
Okay, and you said officeleads.hub?
It's officemovingleads.co. So, and then on the B2G side, right? So I gave you guys business to business. On the business to government side, once you get these different certifications, for example, the Minority Business Enterprise Certification, they call it the MBE, 25% of all government contracts are set aside for these different type of businesses, whether it be veteran-owned, minority-owned, women-owned business, et cetera. It's all types of certifications that you need to see which ones you qualify for. And most of these bigger companies have them, right? They don't talk about them, but they have them. The what I wonder if you ever seen a company that you're like, man, they big as hell, but I never see them out there doing residential moves, because they do all government moves, right? They're moving the army, the military people. All these government offices you go to, Social Security office, the DMV, when those offices move, they have movers, but you have to be a mover that's already contracted with them to make much more money, right? Because they got these bigger moves and they long-term moves. And then one of the most attractive things too is that not only do you get the chance to move the company, but you're in front of all these employees now who see your quality of service, and now you're able to get referrals from the company to these employees and relocate them as well. And these companies pay for these relocations, sometimes moving to different states or just different areas within a certain state. So a lot more money, and this is a major nugget in the commercial space. And I think every business actually should be built off going commercial and doing the residential just seasonal wise, just to increase your profit margins during that time frame.
Okay, nice. So how do you I guess, how do you charge in that market? Like, it's different from residential, as you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. First thing is this, right? So you charge by man hours, but one of the misconceptions is that you need to figure out how much to charge for each position, right? So it's way more detailed on the commercial side. On the moving side, we really just charge for movers. On the commercial side, you can charge for movers individually, and then you can also charge for any type of admin or project manager who helps get the job done individually. So it's extra positions on the commercial side, which also allows you to make revenue. And then, we talked about this before, you have the ability to charge for overtime. Anything after 5, 6 o'clock, depending on what you want to do, as well as on the weekends, you can almost charge double time to work on the weekend. So it's a lot more revenue in this space. So you really need to first, dial it back and say, okay, well, how much am I paying this person, and can I charge for this specific service to the office client or the commercial client, et cetera.
Okay. So I guess what would be, and maybe you mentioned it already, but what would be the first step for one that, wants to dabble in this space or get into this space? Like, what's the first step you think they should take?
Yeah, the first thing I think you should do is set aside a budget for how much you're willing to spend on the advertising piece. Some people already have, full-blown residential operations, which can be duplicated on the commercial side easily because there's not a lot of competition in this space, right? But you need the budget to see how much money you're willing to spend on training as well as marketing to get into the space. Because once you set aside a budget, then from there you can go ahead and start running and go gun ho as far as making as much money as possible. But I'll tell you this too: the residential salespeople are totally different than commercial salespeople, right? When it comes to having a commercial sales team, these people have to be boots on the ground, where they can't just hide behind the phones and cold call people or call people with different things of that nature. They actually have to go out to these locations, shake hands, meet friends, meet some of these building owners, facility managers, make relationships with those people, so that when people are moving, your name is the first one to pop up when they make the recommendation.
So would you recommend, like, because I've been hearing a lot, like, would you recommend like the BNI groups or, any of these networking events to try to get out
BNI,
there?
yeah, BNI is helpful, expensive, depending on
Yes, it
what your
is.
budget is. But it's other groups though, right? And people don't talk about those. So outside of the moving lead place I told you, you definitely need to get leads from there or any type of lead source because that's helpful. It's called BOMA. It's a Building Owners Association, right? So that's how you start bumping elbows with those people. And then you need to kind of identify, okay, what associations are in the area where the most offices are at, right? So in Chicago, joining chambers in downtown Chicago was very productive for us, but it was unionized. So we ended up having to join different associations in the surrounding cities, which was not unionized. So then we can target those customers and kind of have more of a better conversion rate and advantage out there.
Nice, nice, nice. And then I know we talked yesterday briefly, and you said something about if you don't have storage, it kind of like lowers the value of the business, maybe, if I'm saying it right.
Well, what we were talking about is, and I realized this doing the transition of us getting ready to package our company for sale, is that storage is like one of the most valuable portions of the moving industry, which is why you see all of the big players have it. This is why the van lines require you, and if you want to be an owner operator for the van line, they require you to have storage because the multiple is so much higher. And it's like a contract. You have more residual income, right? So on the residential side, you don't have guaranteed money. You have projections that you can make based on what you did last year, but there's no guaranteed money coming in. With storage, month over month, if you have 100 storages and you charge them $100 a month, you have guaranteed money coming in, and that's more sustainable, right? And you can use that money more so to pay your employees and use the money from the actual moving to put in your pocket, right? So I actually was talking to another mover in the industry today saying, hey, you need to consider bringing on storage as another value-added asset to your company because the storage actually attracts people to do more residential and commercial moves with you because some of these, for example, I'll give you an example. We had a contract with a university, and what they would do is they would have seasonality. In the summertime, they would have certain type of events. In wintertime, they have certain type of events. After the summer was over, they would want to take their items and place them into storage and bring out all their winter items and bring those out for the different types of events. If we didn't have storage, we wouldn't want to be able to do that, right? So now we can't bid on certain contracts because we don't have the full capacity to do it. So absolutely, you need storage. The multiple on storage is much higher than just selling your moving company without storage. Now your company is only worth its assets.
Gotcha. And for those that want, like, let's just say with storage, how did you find your marketing I guess what type of marketing tactics did you use to build up your storage clients?
Yeah, same thing that we use for the moving side, and same thing everybody else uses in all the other franchises. Combination of SEO, Google AdWords, word of mouth, putting it out there. Mail marketing is huge, letting people know. Guerrilla marketing, making sure that you have really good advertisement outside as far as signage, postage around the area so people can kind of drive by and see it, stoplights, things of that nature to build out. But on the storage side, and we did ours more commercial, it's just part of the contract. It's upselling people and letting them know, hey, do you need any type of storage? We provide that service as well. And for our company, not only did we have storage vaults and things of that nature, we actually had moving totes. So our commercial clients was able to rent the plastic moving totes from us too, because they didn't want to put those files in boxes. So we provided them with moving totes, which allowed us again to increase the revenue. But then it made it easier on us to move because the moving totes had wheels. Instead of us carrying these boxes back and forth downstairs and down hallways, we were able to put them in the totes and roll them down. So for us, it saved us liability for workers' comp, so we can completely avoid that. But then it makes the move faster, keeps our guys fresher. So now we can focus on the actual customer service part of the business.
What they call those, what, C-bins or commercial bins?
Say it again.
Do they usually call those like C-bins or commercial bins?
Yeah, they're commercial bins. So even when we transitioned from our company, we were able to sell our commercial side, well, the entire business and assets to one company. Then a totally different company brought the moving tote side. It was totally different.
So I'm actually really fascinated by I know you said you was in Texas for 8 years and you was running your business remotely. When did you feel like you were comfortable or ready to make that transition of moving so far away?
Yeah, so at the time when I moved, I had a partner at the time. So he was very, very good, very thorough. So no way in hell would I have moved if I didn't have a partner or a manager in place, right? So that's a big way people fail, right? If you don't budget for a manager when you start your business, before you start it, your pricing probably is wrong. But you have to have, a manager in place, and then you have to have a backup person in place for that manager before that manager even leaves, right? So as you train in the manager, you're already training his backup, which is probably one of your moving leads. But because I was able to come out here and I was up there for the first couple of years of me starting my business, and just like most businesses, most people you start with are family and friends. So a lot of people that were, for me, I got lucky. I had some really good best friends who were able to take over the business when my business partner decided to transition to something different. And it actually ended up being one of the best things we was able to do, because he was able to really tighten the screws and make sure that he ran the ship the way he wanted to, with me giving them kind of guardrails and say, operate within these measurements. But yeah, the transition was really easy for me. I think I mentioned to you before, we actually had a Texas location at one point too, where we started to open up, but then we decided it wasn't the best decision for us at that time. Wish we would have did it now, because the Texas market is just absolutely booming and overwhelmed with the amount of people coming down here.
Okay. So how far, I guess, do your current services reach with your wealth management and everything like that? Are you only just serving the Texas area, or?
No, that's national. So we and like again, so for example, on the wealth management side, what we do is we go out there and buy commercial pieces of property, and once we have them, we open it up for others to potentially invest with us if we need investments for that project, and then we kind of manage their money and flip it. We actually just had a raise that we just completed now, what is called a 24% IRR, basically saying we're going to double those people money in the next 2 years, and then we'll exit out of that project and go on to a bigger one.
Nice. Yeah, this all sounds foreign to me, but it all sounds like a place I need to be. Because at the end of the day, it's all about growing your money. Moving is I guess, it's the pillar to starting it all. It's a really good driver for revenue, driver for building your personal wealth. but ultimately, we got to retire at some point. We got to put it down at some point. And with
Yeah.
that being said, having an avenue for where you can market your money and put your money at where, hey, it may be a little riskier if you're younger, but it'll pay out in the long run. I think that's the goal.
Yeah, yeah. And then moving is tied to the economy so much. So when the housing market swings, the moving market swings, right? On a residential, commercial, office side, everything moves with moving. So moving is like a driver of the economy because you have to be able to move from point A to point B because that's how companies make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Location, location, location. So it's important for people to be in moving. We need movers, but we really need a lot of successful movers, right? Because right now, a lot of people are starting businesses. A lot of people are thinking about exiting businesses. So it's a huge transition going on in just the movement space that'll probably be going on in the next 12 to 16 months.
Okay. And I know we also talked about so there's a program out there for those that may want to get into commercial moving, which is IOMI. I believe the owner over there is Ed Katz.
Yeah.
And you said you had a little bit of experience over there.
Yeah, Ed Katz was amazing. My company was IOMI certified. So I got my entire team certified, which is what allowed us to really grow and scale the business. Once you understand the office side, in my opinion, residential doesn't even make sense at that point because and the thing that I've always told my staff previously is that residential is really emotional. These people have spent their hard-earned money to buy these couches, these tables, take care of it like it's your own. On the commercial side, these employees can give a damn about this desk that they're sitting at, this cubicle that they're working at. So it's less emotional. So now when the emotion gets taken out of, now we can just focus on service and getting you from point A to point B and making you look good as the move coordinator or the manager over this project, right? And on the commercial side, most of these people have project managers. The company has a project manager. So what we would do, we would assign a project manager and they would work hand in hand to make sure the project was done successfully.
Gotcha. And so with those, I know you got to do a lot more walkthroughs, a lot more on-sites, because unlike residential where you actually have an inventory, it's kind of like there's no real commercial inventory. Everything is different depending on the commercial space. What is how would you
I'll
go?
say this.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. What's the question? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I would say how would you best go in there and quote something like that? Like how would you determine the cubes and everything like that?
Well, it's different. So you said something I want to correct. Commercial moves are actually very similar. People have the same type of furniture all the time. And houses, they're different, right? So when I was in Texas doing moving and we was in Chicago, Texas will have totally different type of furniture than what you will see in the Chicagoland area. But typically offices have the same thing, same type of desk, same type of structure, file cabinets, etc. So it is quoted differently. Getting IOMI certified is something that helps you understand how to quote it, and then we mix their quoting system, which you're kind of taught and open your eyes with the experience, the things that we had in our Chicagoland area to make sure our moves were efficient and done on time and within scope, because that's huge. Making sure that you're able to make as much money without deviating from what they're looking for you to do to deliver the project.
So what was that transition like? Like transitioning from your residential to your commercial? Like is it a big transition or a time sake transition? Like how would you?
It's a great question. No, it was a transition. It was a quick transition because you have to fully retrain your staff. They can't do what they do in residential and commercial. So for us, I had a data saying, okay, in the next 45 to 60 days, everybody's going to be retrained because I had to pull movers out the field one by one and start training them on how to do the office moves as well as the salespeople. So he's trained the salespeople first to say, okay, now you're going out there to get moves, while at the same time, you guys are out there trying to get new revenue. Now I'm training the movers on how we do these type of moves. But for me too, because we had our own office space, what we would do is mock moves. I would have all of my guys come in and we would move the equipment around the office and prepare the office to move things of that nature, which made them much more comfortable once we landed our first couple office moves. But yeah, it's a transition. You have to, first get those leads in. With office moves, it can take you about 2 to 3 months to kind of build up your pipeline, right? And then get those people to convert because it's all relationship based. But on the office side too, once you land what I consider to be a whale, for example, we landed a customer one time that we did long distance moving too, that wanted us to move their entire office space and warehouse space to Las Vegas as well as about 10 employees, that's a whale from this one site that provide leads. That's a huge move, right?
Oh yeah.
To get one client to be able to pay you, you know, $50,000 to $100,000, that's huge. On the residential side, that's not possible, right? That's not possible. So, you know, just challenging everybody to go out there and challenge the status quo and try to make as much money as you can, because it's not a difficult transition.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because my fear is right now, we average about around 600 moves a year or so like that with our staff. And, you know, to realize that, well, hey, you know what, we're making this transition into commercial. Okay, now we're gonna have to start telling all these customers that we built this rapport with that, hey, we're not gonna really be able to service you because we're now doing commercial. And I don't know, I feel like
Well, I wouldn't
away.
cut those off. Don't cut those customers off. Keep doing that until you're able to fully transition over. But what it's going to cause you to do is expand. So, okay, now we have another entirely new division that we're bringing on, and some of your residential customers might be these VPs, these HR managers who are saying, hey, you know, Mac moving is already good. Residentially, my company's moving. Let me get in front of you now, right? And that's what we did. So that's one of the times we moved the Illinois Social Security office, because we moved the employee and he happened to be the manager over the project. And then we ended up moving the Social Security office 2 times in our tenure as being movers. So it's just adding on another stream of revenue, which diversifies your revenue overall.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. Questions for you. Oh, those darn cubicles.
Yeah. Oh, and that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up, right? So we were third party. Some cubicles we were able to break down, but what you can actually do is, you know, look up cubicle manufacturers. They actually have training programs out there to show you how to break down their specific type of cubicle. Or you third party. There's companies out there that all they do is break down cubicles and they don't move them. So one of the things that we did residential moving, we did commercial moving. We had a lot of third party providers to break down cubicles for us. Then we had third-party providers to do auto transport for us. So we did that too for our long-distance customers. And then outside of that, we had internal people who would do walkthroughs for us and go in person. We would do them online when COVID hit too. But we had a third-party provider that if we couldn't make it, that we would hire them to go do walkthroughs for us as well. So with us being the size company that we are, we want to operate, you know, I'm an Omega, so we operate the same 8 man is greater than 80 man. So we'd rather be efficient and small than big as hell and inefficient. We were able to add value-added partnerships to do a lot of things that we didn't specifically specialize in, right? So that's one of the things, that's how we were able to accomplish and take on these bigger projects.
No, that's awesome. Delegate versus trying to be the master of everything.
Exactly.
Exactly. Cool. So pretty much everybody, that was, again, B2B and B2G. Mac, did you have anything else you wanted to say about your company or about the topic?
Go out there and make as much money as you can. Moving season is upon you guys. If you're going to do commercial, and we dropped a lot of nuggets here, so you asked a lot of good questions. So if you want to make the transition now, pretty sure everybody is either pretty slow or they tick back. It's a perfect time for you to start your transition before the season kicks up, and then you kind of put it back on the back burner.
All right, sweet. And then Mac, again, did you want to leave your calling card for people? Maybe you want to get into wealth management or looking into some ideas?
Yeah, you guys can actually look us up at hrlegacypartners.com if you're looking to kind of invest some of your disposable income into the commercial real estate realm. We actually have some videos that are about to come out too to teach people about how to invest in commercial real estate. What do these numbers mean? What does everything look like? And you can contact me directly. So go on those sites, you want to talk to me one-on-one, I'm actually willing to give out as much knowledge as possible so we can get more people, specifically mover owners who are cash heavy, to be able to invest and be able to retire and just float off in the wind, right? That's one of the things we want to do. So I want to be in Florida with Mr. Mac here on the beaches and with margaritas with little brothers.
I think it's like 80 degrees out today. I'm like, oh, man, I should be at the beach. But all right, so that was the episode for today. If anybody got any questions, I'm going to leave some information about Mac down in the comments below, and reach out to the man. You know, it's definitely about getting your investments right now. If you're a younger individual, or even if you're an older individual, you know, hey, at the end of the day, we can't work forever. So let's get smart about it.
And I want to say this too. I forgot about this because I got another webinar we were doing tonight. It's live. It's called "Who Got the Keys?" It's the podcast that I'm on, where we're actually talking about real estate and just investments. It's going to be live on Instagram, all the social media platforms, this evening at 7 p.m. So if you got questions, even moving questions, real estate, financial money, go ahead and join that live, and I'll be live tonight answering questions.
All right. So I'll definitely post that in the group, and we'll go from there. All right, Mac. Thank you for having me today.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care.
You too.